GGRC.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of GGRC. I'm RC, and today we're going to be doing a quick reaction video for the new Borderlands 3 reveal that came out last week. So, where to start here? You know, I have kind of an interesting history with Borderlands. I actually absolutely loved the first game. I remember getting that, playing it with a buddy of mine, and just being over the moon with it. Absolutely loved it, you know. Then a couple years later, Borderlands 2 came out, and I wasn't so hot on it. There were a few reasons why. Part of it was the humor. I thought the humor was, like, pretty immature and pretty, like, I don't know, it felt like it was catering to a younger crowd or a more dumb crowd, I guess. I don't know how you want to put it. I especially hated the character Tiny Tina, just like, I thought it encapsulated everything I did not like about that game. Plus, the shield balance with the health and everything didn't feel quite right compared to the first game. I don't know, there was just things about the game that I was not the biggest fan of. Though I did put a lot of time into that game because I played with the same person that I played Borderlands 1 with. You know, I actually probably put in a good 60 hours into that game with them. We just kept playing through it. It was more fun playing with my friend than it was actually playing the game, which is why I kind of stuck with it. Then the pre-sequel came along, and the only thing that looked different about it was the fact that they made it so you had to, you know, get to different air pockets to keep your character alive. And I was happy that they actually changed up the gameplay a little bit, but I was in no condition to actually want to play another Borderlands game. I pretty much passed on it. So the real question is, why am I doing a reaction video for a series that, you know, for the most part, I'm not super into? Well, that's part of what I want to talk about here. And, you know, we're going to jump right into the first trailer here, the announced trailer, and let's get a feel for what we're getting here in September. So there you go, that was the announcement trailer. That was what they showed to sort of reveal that the game was coming out in September, which is cool. It's cool that it's coming out this year. I know a lot of people are excited for it. I gotta say though, but when they revealed that, I was kind of like, okay, you know, I'm sort of kind of on board. I like the fact that they have a character that summons a mech and they ride inside the mech, which is really, really cool. But, you know, overall though, it just feels like the same game. It feels like it's got the same cel-shaded look. You know, it doesn't look like they updated it at all or changed anything or whatever. And a lot of the characters, you know, they do return. NPCs and former player characters, I guess, return as NPCs as well, which is kind of cool if you're into the characters and stuff. But the characters were never really important for me in Borderlands, personally. I don't know. That for me, I was just kind of like, whatever, you're picking a guy or a girl who shoots stuff, you know what I mean? None of the characters ever popped out to me as, like, super important. But what this did do, though, is it had me look up the dates of the previously released games, because I saw September 2019, and I was like, oh, wow, yeah, that's coming up pretty quick here. But I actually wrote down, real quick, like, when the other games came out. The last Borderlands game to come out, the pre-sequel game, was actually in October of 2014. So it's been a while. It's been a while since a game has come out. If this is supposed to be a direct sequel to Part 2, Part 2 didn't come out, or rather, it came out in September of 2012, which is insane to me. I can't believe it's been that long. It'll have been 7 years since we saw Borderlands 2, which is crazy because, you know, you're either going to get like a completely different demographic here. Like, you're going to get the guys who really like Borderlands 2 and have been waiting this long for Borderlands 3. You know, they're rabid for it. But I imagine there's got to be a lot of people who have aged out of this series by this point, right? People see it and they're kind of like, yeah, it's interesting, but I'll wait until it's discounted or something like that. Because a lot happens in 7 years. I've noticed a lot of movies have been doing that lately too. Like, you'll see movies that have their first, you know, release like 7-8 years prior to the sequel, which to me is like, wow, it's just insane to me that, like, you know, you could have had a kid and raised him or her to be 8 years old and they could see the sequel, which which is just insane to me. It's like a whole new demographic of people to enjoy it. But I guess it's not a bad thing if you're getting a new demographic here. Okay, we're going to show off the reveal trailer here, which kind of shows off a bit more of the game. It's a sort of like almost 4 minutes of actual, you know, places in game and stuff the characters will be doing. So let's jump into it. So it definitely feels like Borderlands. You got that old deserty feel. So these are the Calypso twins. They're going to be the enemies of the game, which I can't even remember the enemies from the other games, to be honest. Handsome Jack, I think? The most annoying villain I think I've ever dealt with in a game was, I think he was the second one in the second one. Hopefully these two aren't as annoying. I do like the look of the new characters, though. They look pretty cool. I like the guy with the one green Cyclops eyeball thing going on there. Cool new ability. So you can see that some of the landscapes do look bigger, draw distance looks better. But the art style itself still looks exactly the same to me. Bigger guns, explosions. Again, another previous character there. I had no idea what her name is. Do not remember. Because Borderlands for me has always been about shooting and getting guns, you know? I don't remember the characters at all. I remember the characters you played as, what they look like. I remember Claptrap, of course. Looks like a lot of the same vehicles are back. Now, the big city looked awesome. I thought that looked great. See, the draw distance stuff on that looks great. That's probably one of the things I was most excited to see. I was like, okay, it looks just like Borderlands, but you could see much further, and that cityscape just looked really cool. But you can see the humor of the game is still intact. Like, one of my biggest things I talked about between Borderlands 1 and 2, the humor difference. Now, 1 was funny, but 2 felt like they went tenfold into the really immature internet humor stuff. And that kind of really turned me off from the game. And this looks like it may continue that whole idea. Though Saxel, not exactly too bad, but still pretty damn silly. Here's Claptrap. Love him or hate him, he's back. And one more thing, over 1 billion guns. Of course, there's more guns. And then guns with legs. Guns with legs, pretty funny. Claptrap doing the robot. Look at him go. So there you go, there's a good 4-minute trailer for the new Borderlands 3 that's coming out this September. And they do show off some cool stuff. I don't want to completely rag on this game and say, like, I absolutely don't want to play it or anything like that. But I gotta be honest though with my feelings on it, is that I'm just a little bored by what I'm seeing. I really like some of the landscapes that they put in the game. Like that cityscape really blew me away when they first showed that. I was like, man, that looks awesome. It's got sort of a, you know, almost cyberpunk type of feel to it, you know? Looks super cool. But yeah, I mean, the majority of the game, like 90% of this just looks like more Borderlands 2. And I think that the majority of the Borderlands fans, that's what they want. They want the loot game, they want the dumb humor, they want the silly bosses, you know, that kind of stuff, and that's cool. I'm with you guys. I'm glad you're going to be, you know, enjoying that this year. But for me, I just feel like I need something different. You know, when they came out with the pre-sequel back in 2014, they said like, oh, you're going to have to jump from air bubble to air bubble to keep your character alive. I thought that was actually pretty cool, because I'm like, okay, they're changing up the gameplay a little bit, but in this, it just looks like more of the same gameplay, just with some new characters who have some new abilities, hey, cool. Like the mech thing I thought was really cool. The multi-arm thing around that one girl I thought was really, really cool. But I don't know, I don't think it's enough to get me super excited for the game. Like I said, the standout thing was the landscapes. I really like seeing like the really far draw distances on these like really awesome landscapes. But other than that, it looks just like Borderlands. It looks like it's going to have the, you know, the same humor, the same art style, the same, you know, character structure, the same multiplayer setup. Like everything looks exactly the same. The only thing they're swapping out is like some new bosses and some new bad guys and some new villains, and that might be it. And it looks like a lot of the old school baddies from previous games are also going to make a return. So I will say though, despite what everybody else feels, you know, with Claptrap and everything, I know Claptrap gets a lot of hate, but I've actually always been a fan of him. I don't think that he's relatively funny all the time, and I think that he ruins situations, but that's kind of why I like him, because he runs into a situation, does something stupid, and I was like, this Claptrap character has the most personality in all of Borderlands. Like the rest of the characters, they don't do anything. Except for Handsome Jack, who just like irritated me till no end, because he would just make internet jokes through the whole thing, and I'm just like, would a man of that age really be making jokes about pooping unicorns and stuff? Probably not. It really took me out of the game. And this is a bit more of a personal bias too, but for me, like, I'm just kind of over the whole loot grind thing with games as well. I've definitely felt it over the years with games that come out and say like, oh, they're loot games where you keep running a dungeon or running an area over and over, trying to get a better chest piece or better better armor, better guns, better swords, whatever it is. I'm just kind of over that whole thing for right now. Like I've been taking a long break from it, because I consider it really like carrot on a stick gameplay. Like, oh yeah, if you keep trying to kill this boss, you get a chance to drop this one piece of armor or whatever. It's like, you know, I played years and years of World of Warcraft. I think I got it out of my system. I don't really want to do it. Unless it's really fast-paced and you can do it very quickly, like a Diablo 3 style or whatever. You know, I'm not really going to want to be into it. But, like, all these other games that are coming out nowadays, you know, you have, like, Anthem, you have Division 2, and then you have Borderlands 3 here coming, just to cite 3 recent examples. They're not games I really want to spend a lot of time with, because, for one, the gameplay itself doesn't seem all that exciting. And then only to get to the end and to not have the thing that you're going after drop for you just doesn't do much for me anymore. I don't know. For me, maybe it's because I'm getting older, I'm just getting over it. But that's just something that's also kind of like pushing me away from this game. So there you go, guys. Those are my thoughts on the Borderlands 3 reveal. Let me know what you think in the comments, because you might completely agree or completely disagree, and I'd like to know why. Like I said, it's mainly the 3 things. It's that the game looks exactly the same. It's the fact that, you know, it's a loot game. And, you know, the humor stuff isn't really going to do much for me either, as far as, like, you know, if it's going to continue on with the same style humor it had in 2. But yeah, guys, I mean, like I said, that's just how I feel about it. Feel free to disagree with me in the comments and let me know. All right, guys, I'll see you all next time.
GRC.